9.4.1 homework question 1. We've got in brackets 2x squared y to the power 3. So what I need to do is I need to use my index laws, but the coefficient I'm actually going to raise that to the power 4. So 2 to the power 4 is 2, 4, 8, 16. So my coefficient here will be 16. Now I'm going to use my index laws. When I have an index in a bracket, I can multiply those powers. So I'm going to get x to the power 8, y to the power 12. Question 2. I'm going to start by looking at the coefficients, and we'll just do this division. 54 divided by 9. I can do the division with the coefficient, okay, and then we're going to subtract the bases using our index laws. But 54 divided by 9 is going to give me 6. And then 4 to the power 5 divided by x to the power 5 divided by x to the power 4 is just x to the power 1, or x. And y cubed divided by y cubed is going to cancel each other out. So it just ends up with 6x. Question 3 and question 4 is something called the difference of two squares. And what it is, you know, normally when we expand out brackets, you have a single coefficient, you have x as a single power, x to the power 1, or just x. You have that as well. But what we need to do is make those x's cancel each other out. But what we have to do is they have to multiply to give minus 100. So firstly, this is going to go into two brackets. When I'm factorizing a quadratic, it's going to go into two brackets like this. And then x times x is going to give me this x squared. But I need to now find things that multiply to give, well, they're two squares actually. So we've got plus 10 and minus 10. That will multiply together to give that minus 100. But you'll also see, if I were to expand this out, okay, so this is the correct answer here. But if I was to expand this out, we'd get x squared, outer minus 10x, inner plus 10x, and then last minus 100. So these two would cancel each other out, okay, because they're minus 10x and plus 10x, and that's why it would leave us with that x plus 10, x minus 10, and that is called the difference of two squares. So it's kind of similar with this one, and actually it's probably easier to start with the plus 7 and the minus 7 that's going to get you to minus 49. Now, these two first numbers have to multiply together to give 4x squared, so it's going to be 2x on both of these, so 2x and 2x. And you'd see if I multiply this out, I would get, again, the single powers of x are going to disappear. So it would give me 4x squared minus 14x plus 14x and then minus 49, but those would drop out. Question 5. If x equals 3, find the value of 160 plus 5x squared. So when I'm doing a substitution, I'm just going to substitute in the value with brackets like that, and then I'm going to think about my indices laws, my bin mass laws, and just be very careful with it. So brackets, well, I haven't got an operation in the brackets, but I do have this squaring going on. So what I have is 160 plus 5 times by 3 squared, which is 9. So what I have is 160 plus 5 times 9, which is 45, and that's going to give me 205. Next question. So again, we're going to substitute in carefully with brackets. So wherever the x is, I'm going to substitute in my minus 5, and then minus 2 times by minus 5, and then plus 5. Right, now I've got an index, so minus 5 squared is plus 25. Be careful about that. Minus 5 times minus 5 is plus 25. So I've got 5 times by 25, take away. Right, now here we've got to be careful. I've got minus 2 times by minus 5 here, or minus 2 times by minus 5, and that is going to actually mean that I'm going to have to add 10. because I've got minus 2 being multiplied by minus 5, and we know that that would give us plus 10. So I've got plus 10 and then plus another 5. So that's going to give me 125 plus 15, which is going to give me 140. Question 7. Okay, if the nth term of a sequence is 7 times by 5 to the n minus 1, find the second term. The second term is when n equals 2, and so all I'm going to do is just substitute n equals 2 into that. Right, the term number is what n is. So I've got 7 times by 5 to the 2 minus 1. Okay, so it's just 7 times by 5 to the 1, or it's just 7 times 5, which is 35. I'll put 2 in brackets up here. Right, the third term, so n is going to be equal to 3 here. So I've got 5 times by 4 to the 3 minus 1, which is going to give me 5 times by 4 squared, which is going to give me 5 times by 16, which gives me 80. Right, estimation. Sadly at GCSE, estimation always involves rounding to one significant figure. So we're going to round each of these to one significant figure. 500 plus another 500, take away 400. So that's going to give me 600. And the top one here, I'm going to do 600, take away 400 to one significant figure, and I'm going to then divide that by, to one significant figure, 40. That's going to give me 200 over 40, which gives me 5. Definitely want to see the working out for those questions, particularly the estimation, for all the questions. Okay. Highest common factor of 65 and 117. So it's quite difficult to squeeze this in, but we want to do a quick bit of finding the prime factorization. So for 65, I think we've got 13 times by 5. Both of those are prime numbers, so 13 times by 5. And then for 117, I can't think off the top of my head, but I bet you 13 goes into it. So 13 goes in how many times? 117 divided by 13, 9 times. So we've got 13 times by 9, and then that's going to be 3 times by 3. There's my prime factorization. The highest common factor is just going to be the 13, because they don't share any others. So if we were doing a Venn diagram, the common factor is what is shared in the middle here. And it's only 13, so my answer is 13. Find the lowest common multiple of 60 and 50. So again, we could do a quick one of these. So we've got 10 times by 6, 3 times 2, 5 times 2. And for 50, we're going to go for 25 times by 2 and 5 times by 5. And then if we use a Venn diagram method for the lowest common multiple, we're going to, if we write this out as 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, that's for 60, and 2 times 5 times by 5. Let's see what we've got shared. We've got 1 2 shared, so 2 is going to go in there. We've got 1 5 shared, so 5 is going to go in there, and then we've got a 2 and a 3 for the 60, and we've got a 5 here. So if we multiply all those all together, we'll get the lowest common multiple, which you could probably just get quite straightforwardly from just doing a listing method, to be honest. And it comes to, no surprises, 300. So with that one, because of the way the numbers, because these questions are generated by computers, this one was actually just lent itself to a common sense approach. I'm just modeling this out in case you have more difficult numbers next time. Right, question 13. Expand and simplify. So it's really important to remember that if we've got x minus 4 squared, it's all of x minus 4 which is being multiplied by itself. Okay, so we can write it out with two brackets. That's really important. So then I can expand it out. So the common mistake here would be to say this is x squared minus 16. It's not, or even x squared plus 16 would be also a similar mistake. If I expand this out, I'm going to get x squared minus 4x minus another 4x plus 16, and that's going to give me x squared minus 8x plus 16. Okay, so we need to see that x minus 4, all of that is being squared, and then just take our time with expanding that out using a FOIL method. Same thing here. I've got 5x minus 4, sorry, plus 4, times by 5x plus 4. Expand that out. 5x times 5x, so first, outer, inner, last, gives me 25x squared. 5x times by 4 gives me 100x, sorry, gives me 20x. 4 times by 5x gives us another 20x, and then 4 times 4 gives us 16. So I've got 25x squared plus 40x plus 16. Right, question 15, standard form. Express this in standard form. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3.66 times 10 to the minus 4. 4.1412, 0.0414. A block has mass of 880 grams and a volume of 80 grams. Calculate the density. So density is equal to mass divided by volume. So all we've got here is 880 divided by 80, which is going to give me 88 divided by 8, which gives me 11 grams per centimeter cubed. So that unit is important there. It's whatever the unit is here divided by this one. Right, so if density equals mass divided by volume, then mass must equal density times by volume. So I'm just going to do my density, which is 25, times by my volume here, which is 12, and that's going to give me 300, and it's 300 grams. Right, last two questions. Question 19. Make x the subject here, so y equals ax squared. I can't square root it to begin with. We had similar ones of this, I think, in the previous ones. We can't square root it to start with. The first thing that I need to do is divide it both sides by a. If I was to square root it, I would also need to square root a. Okay, so I need to square root all elements. So then that gives me y over a equals x squared. Now I can do the square root. So if I take the square root both sides, I've got x equals y over a, but the square root of that. And the square root has to go over the whole thing. Right, if I'm making x the subject here, I'm going to add b to both sides. That gives me y plus b equals ax, and then I'm going to divide both sides by a. So that gives me y plus b over a equals x.